Hi, everyone. Welcome to VCTV, the Venture Capital TV from La Tokens. This is the first session of the day on Monday. And we're going to talk about some technical stuff, but keep it like really light, not heavy. It's about blockchain for IoT, supply chain, and shipments. So today we have two speakers, one regular speaker, Gary, who we all know, and a new speaker on the Asia panel of VCTV, Eduardo Garcia, all the way from Spain. So before I jump into the speakers, I'd like to introduce myself. I've got a co-host as well, like co-moderator. My name is Sonny Mohanty. I'm the regional director of La Token. I'm based here in Singapore. I host VCTV Monday till Friday, every day, 2 shows in a day now. Very, very exciting days. I really love VCTV. I really love talking to my speakers. And yeah, there you go. So today is a topic about very technical topic. Just a bit of sort of background before I start with my speakers. So since 2018, the blockchain and IoT market grew from 30 million to 113 million. That's 113 million, and is projected to grow to more than 3 billion by 2024. So today, this is a topic we're going to discuss with our speakers. Terence, over to you.
Thank you, Sonny. Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in and making time and listening to us all. Now, on the panel today, we have your fellow VCs, I can say, from around the world. We have as far as Spain, US, and we are here in the region, the APAC region. So again, thank you for tuning in to La Token, and this is VCTV by La Token. La Token is your #1 exchange for liquidity and for new digital assets. So before we start, again, for those who are joining in for the first time, I think you want to know who's on the panel. So I'll let Gary quickly introduce himself.
Sure. Thank you. Appreciate that, Terence. My name's Gary Fowler. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've done 16 companies. I'm a writer. I write a lot. I've written almost 90 articles, about 88 articles in the last year. I love blockchain and quantum computing, IoT. I just had the chief IoT manager from Intel on one of my podcasts. So I just love this stuff. I'm also an investor and the CEO and president of GSD Venture Studios, a premier AI venture studio, global venture studio. And I've been involved in 2 unicorns. Eva, which is one of the top HR AI tech companies, I started that a few years ago, 4 years ago, and also Click Software. I was on the original team, sold to Salesforce for 1.35 billion. And by the way, Terence, it was service chain optimization. Israeli company, came out of the Israeli Air Force. We moved it over to the US. I changed the name of the company as a senior vice president of that company of marketing from IET. And I almost said IoT. Did I make, forget about this, Intelligent Electronics, to Click Software, and the rest is history. Did an IPO on NASDAQ, company sold to Salesforce. So it means your dreams can come true, right? So all the startups that are out there, this is a little company that that came out of Haifa, Israel years ago, and here we are. So dreams do come true. Anyhow, I'm excited about it. I'm actually writing an article. It's coming out on Wednesday about blockchain and quantum computing. So that should be out, and it's a hot space, but there's a lot of BS, quite frankly, about it. So we can dive into it.
No worries. We'll cut through that on the show, hopefully. Now, we have about, let's say, 45 minutes to an hour on this show. So we're going to touch as much as possible. And again, for those out there listening in or watching us, if you have any questions, do look at our calendar, and perhaps you can send us a few of those questions if you want them to be addressed on the show. So quickly moving on from Gary, Eduardo, tell us a bit about yourself and how's things in Spain.
Yeah, thanks so much, Terence, Sonny, for being here in this season, actually. My background has been always pretty much linked to finance. I have, I developed my professional career within the investment banking, private equity, and venture capital arena. Right now, actually, I'm the managing director for EMEA, a large US family office, the Soriano Group and Family Office. We invest in a number of industries within the deep tech space, um, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, Internet of Things. Um, Blockchain, fintech, real tech, prop tech, esports to entertainment. And we are also doing a number of venture building initiatives. On my personal side, I'm also a professor in different MBAs in Europe and the US. I'm a mentor also in a number of startups from around the world. I'm also sitting in the board of administrations of different, technology companies, particularly within the artificial intelligence and blockchain spaces. And I'm also a president of the Entrepreneurship Club at Theo Educational Group, which is the largest private educational group in Spain. We have over around 20K students across different universities, schools, business schools. So yeah, we're very keen to be here again and to have you also here.
Great. Thank you, Eduardo. I think for those who are tuning in as well, this goes to show that these are heavy hitters on the show. So it's good that if we can somehow listen and see where the market is going, where the money is going, and also how the industry is evolving. So I think without further ado, perhaps I'll go with the first question and then Sonny can follow through. Let's talk a little bit about IoT. We've been hearing quite a bit from your smart blenders right up to deep tech within the whole IoT space. So perhaps we can start with you, Gary. Give us the landscape at the moment and what do you see coming about perhaps now and in the quite recent distant future? Let's just put it that way.
Hold on. It's interesting. 2 weeks ago, I had Samir Sharma, who's the general manager of Intel's IoT group, on my podcast. So we had some deep discussions about IoT. He's the guru of IoT worldwide. And, so there's challenges, right? One of the things, so everybody talks about IoT. We were talking specifically about smart city and IoT. And how do we make, it's interesting with cities today, you've got traffic lights within a city, but they're only changed on average every 8 years. And you know how traffic flows change. So there's no coordination. And something, Terrace, I'm a country boy from Pennsylvania. When I'm telling you about things, I grew up in a village. And so I look at things a little bit differently. We always kept it simple. If there's something black and white and it's really big in a field, it's probably a cow. Right. Or somebody at Halloween that's had a few too many drinks.
Yeah.
But you go down through it and it's keep it simple. We need to go down through the IoT really does tie everything together. And we had deep discussions with Samir about that. So look at cities in general. How many different things could be tied together? Look at buildings, right? Having, not smart buildings, but intelligent buildings. What does it give us by having these type of devices out there? Think about the efficiencies, about how much better we can monitor things and control them. So that's beautiful. The thing that concerns me, and I'll go down through supply chain. We can talk about some of the other topics, but let's specifically talk about that, is security. And I'm writing an article for Forbes right now called Blockchain and Quantum Computing. So, quantum computers are 100 million times faster than conventional computers. So, virtually all cybersecurity is dead. It doesn't exist once quantum computers get focused on something. So we got some challenges. And think about the IoT. How many different things? My roof, in a house, a super smart house, intelligent. The roof is leaking. The refrigerator hey, listen, you might want to come in. We may want to adjust the temperature on a shelf because it's a little bit too warm. Or when you use unsupervised AI, it starts to adjust things for you. So that's the world, and it's happening very, very quickly. By the way, this tsunami is coming in, and of course, having blockchain to be able to make it a bit more secure for now, right? As I said, when you put quantum computers into the mix, everything changes with IoT. But of course, and then imagine the data. So look at the data that we're going to generate. The world today has 33 zettabytes of data as we sit here. And I've said this a number of times. If you take the DVDs and stack them one on top of another, that would reach the moon back and forth 23 times. 23. We're growing at 62% per year, 62% per year. That's a lot. Managing the data, we don't even have the capabilities today. Think about our own personal clouds with data. As I've said this a few times, the average person has 300,000 items within their own personal cloud. The entire World Wide Web in 1996 was 257,000 websites, and it's growing. It's doubling every year. In 5 years with IoT, we're going to have 10 million items. Think about today. You say to yourself, I know that file exists, but I can't find it. Why? I've either forgotten the keywords or location. Now think of all the data sources you have: Messenger, Telegram, WhatsApp, Google Drive, Dropbox box, and how many email addresses, Terrence, do you have? 5, 7, 10?
Yep, I'm in that range.
How many times has it come? This is a concern. How many times have somebody said, I sent you a PowerPoint presentation or an email yesterday. Did you get it? And or they said, I sent you a note. And they happen to send it on WhatsApp or Telegram or WeChat. How do you find it? So we've got what Alvin Toffler said in Future Shock, infobesity. So my concern is that with IoT now on top of it, think about all the data we're going to have to manage within our personal cloud. We can't do it today, right? And I've talked to MIT professors. I've talked to CEOs of top 100 companies worldwide. And I said to him directly, I said, well, how do you manage it? And he said, well, it's very simple. 2 years ago, I said to myself, any email that's older than 2 years, I'm going to get rid of it. Then a year ago, I said, any email that's older than a year, I'm just going to get rid of it. I couldn't believe it. This is a top U.S. university graduate. And he said, 6 months ago, I said, 6 months. I said, are you serious? He said, yeah. I said, a very simple question. I said, what would you do if it's important? What do you do if it's important? And you get rid of it. He said, well, it's very simple, Gary. And I said, what's that? He said, if it's that important, I'll resend it.
That makes sense.
I mean, think about it. So we have that condition of infobesity that we have to go. So I love IoT, and of course, having sensors everywhere to monitor everything. And it brings up some other issues, right, with privacy, and when an unsupervised, I've written some articles in Forbes magazine, essentially what happens if AI goes wild? If you don't do the training sets, it's like a kid, you're nurturing a kid. If you put a kid in the wrong environment, not good things happen. So we better make sure that the training sets and the way we're training and nurturing the AI is right. Because the last thing you want, something that's tied into everything, and you develop Skynet. So
the next end of the world there.
Well, I mean, the thing is, seriously, and I wrote an article on emotion AI and compassion, but I'm very serious. As a clinical psychologist, I got my graduate degree in clinical, and I can tell you directly, we had better be careful how we go down through and do it. And it's not just about making a decision just based purely on logic. You better have compassion in there, because if it's just on logic, we're probably not going to be around.
I mean, you're right there, Gary. Thanks for that quick introduction, though. You're right about that logic behavior, but it's kind of sad that we look at it because most things are done by logic first, at the moment at least. But again, when we talk about IoT, when we talk about blockchain itself, it's lots of talk about security, transparency, and that whole, let's say, view into it. I mean, Eduardo What do you think about IoT and where it's going now? Can you give us your perspective?
Yeah, I think where it's going now, I would say where is it right now actually, because you know, I look at myself right now and I'm pretty much, you know, surrounded by a number of Internet of Things devices. I mean, from just, you know, switches, lights, pretty much you know, appliances, smart appliances too. So it's pretty much, you know, in all the different aspects of our lives, and not only, also as Gary mentioned, smart cities, in which, you know, the development of the 5G networks will boost these kind of technologies for the upcoming years. And also they're heavily impacting in a number of industries. I mean, not only, for example, right now actually with this pandemics, with this COVID, the healthcare sector has been pretty much flooded by a number of Internet of Things devices. Also, the new developments within the entertainment industry brought us a number of these kind of, you know, technologies that will be pretty much impacting our lives on a daily basis. And I believe that, you know, as a venture building fund that we have and that we run on a worldwide basis, definitely Internet of Things is gonna be very, very related to the development of the 5G's technologies, particularly when it comes to connectivity and smart mobility, where we will start to see actually, you know, the autonomous cars and vehicles pretty much in every country of the world. Actually, for example, ourselves, we are developing and we are actually presenting to the market. Actually, we presented to the market past week, but we will be hitting the market over the next couple of months. 100% electric motorcycle. Check Soriano Motori, by the way, if you like motorcycles. That will be having a number of Internet of Things technologies, like you know, virtual have. Also, you will have the opportunity to pretty much control everything with your key, with your smartwatch. Also, your jacket, your apparel will be connected to the device, to the bike, to pretty much everything that you will be doing. So these kind of things are really exciting going forward. Actually, we believe that you know, the market basically will be moving forward very, very fast within this space, and particularly within these technologies. And definitely when it comes to fundraising, we have seen a tremendous increase in appetite from investors from all over the world, I would say, looking for investing in the new, you know, big unicorn within the Internet of Things, because the market potential will be massive. Pretty much everyone in the world will have an Internet of Things related device. So that means a huge opportunity, not only in Europe or the US, but also in Asia, there in Singapore, where we see a number of companies heavily investing in these spaces. And we are, you know, right now, actually, we are committed with a number of initiatives there. For example, we own a company which is called Hanson Robotics, which is the owner of Sophia the robot. You
Oh,
probably heard
yeah.
about Sophia the robot. We're very proud
Sophia is a
of
famous
her.
robot.
New version will be hitting the market, by the way, over the next weeks. That company is based in Hong Kong, so we basically are heavily investing there, and
Right.
we are committed with that region. Actually, we believe that Asia has a tremendous potential, probably
Hmm.
as large as the US or Europe, actually, for the upcoming years. China will be leading the market, but also countries such as Singapore, Japan, Korea, where we see, for example, Korea is the most actually the country with the largest number of robots per inhabitant in the world. Actually, pretty much all industries have been impacted by robots. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be a very, you know, interesting era Let's see what happens after the COVID, but number of opportunities, and we will love to hear from early stage companies and young entrepreneurs from Asia looking to develop their propositions within these spaces.
Right, right. Thank you for that, Eduardo. I think you're right in terms of where IoT is going. And I saw that bike that was launched. It's a beautiful machine, I must say. But again, I think just looking at the space itself, for the benefit of those up and coming businesses, or let's say startups at this point, can we comment a little and look at some of the use cases? Something interesting that you've picked out throughout, let's say, your whole VC stint around the zone. Can you tell us a bit of what you're seeing? Yeah, perhaps Eduardo, you can go first.
Yeah,
Since,
sure.
yeah.
So basically, what we are seeing right now, within our space is that this pandemic has been heavily impacting, pretty much all the activities from the early stage development to the fundraising activities. I mean, of course, we are actually right now in the middle of a fundraise. We are looking to raise actually for $50 million, okay, in order to properly escalate this motorcycle business to the next stage, to the mass production phase, I would say. And for example, and this is a particular case, but for example, we intended to raise that capital rather than using a straight equity issue through an ICO and STO, such as we did in other companies that we have. And actually right now we had to cancel pretty much that option because of these pandemics. The situation, of course, will not last forever, but we have to deal with it probably for the next, I would say, 12 to 18 months. Funds are having problems to raise capital because there are a number of uncertainties on a worldwide basis. For example, the new president in the U.S. is good for the business, I will say, because usually it would be more open to pretty much establishing long-term relationships with other countries when it comes to investments, and that will facilitate also developing new projects. So, but yeah, again, within that Internet of Thing sector, particularly in pretty much the consumer sector, also real estate and healthcare, I will say that those industries or verticals will be in the industry. And also within the blockchain and fintech, financial regulation is gonna start, to push forward to new business models, and banks will be struggling, and financial institutions will be struggling over the next years, I will say, in order to compete against new forms of deregulated businesses, such as those fintech, real tech, prop tech, and insurtech verticals that we mentioned before. And yeah, and this is pretty much how we see it. Also, education is going to be heavily impacted by the new paradigm in the world. So yeah, exciting times to come, I will say.
Agreed, agreed. Thank you on that. Gary, help us out with a few examples here and there that you're seeing. What are interesting companies that you're looking at or making waves within the whole industry itself?
Well, it's so I love artificial intelligence. Terrence, I just want to say one thing, before we get down this. The supply chain. Think about, the challenge, the reason we had the problems with the medical supplies, with the ventilators, with toilet paper. You know, it's like, how can we be such an advanced society with quantum computers and we can't get enough toilet paper? Now, doesn't that seem like a little bit odd? It's kind of
Very. The toilet paper phenomenon was
the toilet
very
paper.
interesting.
I bought I went to a marine supply company because they were out of towels. You could not get paper towels. And I paid probably 3 times as much for a paper that would go on yachts, but I got it because it was, it was like special water soluble kind of a paper. Anyhow,
Right.
but the reason why we went down this is very simple, because we tried to minimize cost and have just-in-time inventory. We tried to do the lean approach to the supply chain. It's exactly, and it brutally exposed the weaknesses of that system.
Mm.
When you don't have inventory levels, those are the kind of things that happen. And so we've had to rethink the supply chain all the way, if we look at it too, look at the inefficiencies in the supply chain. There's a lot of paper. There's not a lot of transparency. I can't tell you if something's being shipped over to me exactly where it is. So if it's coming from China, to Europe, or it's coming from China to Singapore, exactly where is it? And so those are some of the challenges. So it's brutally exposed it during that time. In terms of the companies, what I'm seeing is, artificial intelligence is the new electricity. Data is the fuel, and 5G is the turbocharger. And so companies in each one of those areas are companies that can have a profound impact today. When I say, there's a lot of BS about artificial intelligence, because people just, in fact, the number one article that I've written in Forbes is about the deep learning versus machine learning. I did not think that would be the case. I've written some interesting articles. I didn't think that would be it, because people just don't get it. They
Right.
don't understand it. And so unsupervised AI, ladder networks, semi-supervised, VAE, et cetera. So what we have to do is, it's not just algorithmic math, it's actually, how can this tool make decisions for us? And that's coming, right? We did it with Eva, my company. We went from, semi-supervised to unsupervised AI. We need to have, because it's, again, the data. We're in this kind of world where there's a tsunami coming in. There's going to be the people that know and companies that know and the companies that don't know. Unfortunately, the companies that don't know aren't going to be in business. So the companies that I'm really interested in today are companies that are focusing on artificial intelligence across multiple verticals. And remember, Terrence, it's not about the AI. It is about the training sets. So you can take a model for manufacturing and apply that to the supply chain and apply that to healthcare. That same model, that same model of AI can be applied. I wrote an article, The Transportability of AI Models, recently, within the last month. But that's the case, but it's a training set. So remember, if you have a narrow bias training set, nothing good's going to happen. We got to make sure the training sets are right. So I'm interested in companies that are applying those kind of training sets to critical problems. I'm specifically interested in things like sustainability. I'm really concerned about the supply chain. I was on the original management team at Click Software, that company from Israel, which did service chain optimization. We need to do the same thing for supply chain optimization, using artificial intelligence, using the blockchain for transparency, and really apply it to that environment. And the lean approach is great. But remember, if you do that, nothing good's going to happen, right?
Yeah. This global pandemic has definitely got some light on it, and no hard and fast solutions. I mean, lots of people are giving their theories and seeing what's going to happen, but I think there's lots of trial and error coming as well.
Well, I mean, the thing is, we got another 2 years of this pandemic. I mean, people read about 1918 and the Spanish flu, and Eduardo's an expert on it, right, Eduardo? I know Eduardo sometime. I mean, think about it. This is like simple, right? They were wearing masks in 1918. The difference is they didn't have the virtual world that we have today. So if you look at it, why can people keep investing today? Because of tools like Zoom, right? 400 million active users of Zoom around the world today. I actually was chatting with the founder of Zoom via, I've known him for a bit, but I was communicating with him on LinkedIn.
Okay.
So here we are in this virtual world. Anyhow, he's worth $19 billion today.
Yep.
19. So our world has changed. We've got this virtual world to keep investments moving forward. You know, as a humanity, we were shocked with this because here we are, we thought we were the most sophisticated and we couldn't get the simple things in life, right? You know, grocery stores. I don't know what it was like in Singapore, but grocery stores here, grocery stores in Russia were out of products because it was broken. So now there's an opportunity. What about companies that focus on blockchain, AI, optimization for the supply chain? That's very interesting for me, right?
Right. That makes sense. Sonny, over to you.
Okay. Oh, really? It's my turn? Okay, thank you, Terence, for that. All right, great. I think we are all set with 30 minutes of just discussing around topics for today. So Gary, I just want to ask you one thing. How was it yesterday? How did you feel? Yesterday was a big day for all the American citizens. So what happened
How
yesterday?
did I feel yesterday? Well, I mean, we have a tropical storm here, so I was feeling like I didn't want to get wet. I was
Dear.
outside and I had my convertible out and it started to rain.
Oh no.
Was it a ripple effect or something?
I was feeling a little bit soaked yesterday. So, I mean, you know, the situation, I mean, just in general, I mean, I'm very positive. I believe, you know, if you look at my TED talk, it was about, you know, passion, optimism, and visualization. You know, I believe that, you know, the glass is half full. And so I always look at things on a positive side. There's a great, you know, and if we do that, some places around the world, like in Russia, they talk about taki tak, so, yani is now, I don't know, mujabit, about things. We have to keep a positive attitude. And basically you will things into existence. And people say, it's metaphysical. It's not true. If you visualize where you want to go, you get there. You know, if you wake up in the morning and you hit your toe on the corner, your whole day gets messed up. You lose your keys, your pocketbook's gone, your wallet's disappeared, somebody's off, not happy in the office, your whole day gets screwed up. So you got to reorientate yourself into a positive framework. Seriously, it just works. And I talked to, you know, I talked to the guy I don't know if you know Rupert Murdoch.
Yep.
Yeah, so I had a dinner with the brother of the founder of Google and Rupert Murdoch's right-hand man, Andrew Staginski. And I'll never forget this. So, and Murdoch, you know, he's going through he had a Chinese wife and then he married Jerry Hall, Mick Jagger's ex-wife. And we had this discussion at dinner. I'll never forget it. I said to him, so Staginski bought the Wall Street Journal for $4 billion from the, was a Bancroft family. And he said, I studied the top entrepreneurs around the world. And I said to him, that's very interesting. Can you tell me one thing that you found that they have? And then this is including Rupert Murdoch, that's similar to all of them. And he said, amnesia. And I said, what do you mean? He said, they never talk about the past.
Okay.
Never talk about the past. And I have a billionaire partner in my company, Eva, and it's the same. He never, ever, every billionaire that I know, and I know a few of them, have never talked about the past. They talk about the future. Because the past holds you back. If you dwell on the past, you never move forward. And if you look at some of the most successful entrepreneurs, same thing. So amnesia.
Amnesia. That's correct. Great. Gary, thank you. Eduardo, I just want to ask you something very, we have 30 more minutes. So because of the pandemic, I think, I don't know if about Spain, I think UK has gone down for another lockdown. So are you also seeing that similar situation in Spain? Because of this global pandemic, I think education has been affected. It has moved online. Similarly, work tech. So we've been working remotely, all of us, working from home. So would like to know about how has this led to shipments, especially because when you're working from home, you have to have proper lighting, especially for doing this webinars, laptops, tablets. lot of gadgets. I mean, I shopped myself. I shopped for a new laptop, not just for myself, family members as well. Got myself a lighting, got myself a good camera, a speaker. So I think in that sense, what I'm trying to say here is obviously these are shipped out and shipments have gone up. So what do you see in terms of the trends that are happening in the space, and how technology has actually advanced helped advance in this space?
Well, I believe that, pretty much, as you perfectly mentioned, these global pandemics has pretty much, I will say, accelerated the adoption of digital means in pretty much all the sectors. Education, of course, and, myself, I'm a professor, so rather than go and teach the sessions and the lessons on a presential way, actually with the students there in the room, we started to do it through Zoom, through HiFlex, that kind of new systems. And of course, this is also having a tremendous impact on all the companies. In Spain, you're probably aware that we are under a lockdown again, in which a number of cities have been locked down too. So basically, you cannot go to another city within the country. Bars, restaurants are also closed in a number of cities, which is insane. Can you imagine, right? So and of course, I mean, it's going to have a tremendous impact. So basically, this new digital world in which we are living actually has been pretty much, pushing our typical daily activities to another dimension, I would say. So it's gonna stay along with us. Pretty much social media and networks will be heavily increasing its importance within our society, but also it will involve and it will entail new changes in our lifestyle. For example, we in Spain, it was kind of typical, to pay by cash, by using cash. And right now, everyone is gonna use their mobile phones or their credit cards. So, for example, that kind of new trends are gonna last, I would say, forever. So, within the educational system, I would say that universities are moving towards a new model in which, online training and education will be key for the upcoming years. And because it's easier, because it's cheaper also for them, actually, rather than just the investments, the initial investment you have to do in the technology. But then you reach scale and you become more efficient. And of course, I mean, within the healthcare sector too, within the real estate sector too. I mean, for example, I got a couple of friends that have been, promoting a number of real estate investment funds that have acquired large buildings and new, apartments that they are selling through the internet. So you can do a virtual visit of the apartment rather than just go there and visit that. So it's going to have a tremendous impact in a number of industries and sectors and our lives. And hopefully we will get the vaccine and things will start to become normal again. But I think my personal feeling is that probably over the next 6 months to 12 months, I will say, we will, our lives, I will say, will be continuously heavily impacted by these COVID things and new trends.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously, in terms of time frame, I really don't know for how long, because I've heard people saying year, 2 years, 5 years. Gary said Spanish flu lasted for 4 years. So yeah, but good to have a time frame in mind. Thanks for Eduardo for those insights as well. Gary, how can logistics startups use tech, and which tech, to be in the forefront and because supply chain logistics have been disrupted, and the shipment has, especially in China, like people have ordering a lot of handsets, the smartphones. So what
Yeah,
are
sure.
yeah.
We did Click Software as a service chain, right, for logistics, and I mean that's at the time that we started that, uh, nobody had done it, and so what's it all about? It's getting the right product at the right place at the right time. But how do you do that? Think about it. So if I want to deliver this product to a customer, and I've got 3 levels of service, I've got bronze, silver, and gold level service. I need to get that product in. I've got trucks of different sizes to do the delivery in different capacity. Then I have to know what's on that truck, right? Exactly. So I know that I have space for the truck. And then I have to make sure that the service is done within the time frame of whatever they have. So if it's a gold level service and it's priority and they need to get it within 1 hour, and then I've got bronze level can be 2 days. So there's a lot of different um, algorithms and AI that needs to be involved to figure that out. Now imagine if you have 1,000 trucks and you've got, 1,000 drivers. So think about the permutations and combinations of that, getting that product out. So those are the kind of challenges that we need to solve. But the part is, it's not just about the logistics, it's to make sure that supply chain has the product ready to go in that truck, right? You can have that worked out. And if there's no toilet paper, forget about it.
I don't go anywhere without
I
toilet
don't know
paper.
you, but I was getting a little nervous in the beginning of the pandemic when they started saying toilet paper. The good news is, Sonny, what happened when this thing happened in December? I started buying stuff, right? Because I knew what was going to happen. So I bought my MacBook because, computers and desks and things, you couldn't get them, right? I mean, even today in IKEA, I tried to look for, my wife wanted this new desk. They don't have it anywhere in the United States, right? It just doesn't exist. So then you have the political stuff going on, which infects the supply chain too. So, the logistics startups that are out there, think about, make sure, number one is look at the market. What we don't want to do, if you come in, it's again, keep it simple, stupid. I mean, I look for markets where there's an opportunity, not where there's, 5 dominant players. I mean, Click Software was sold to Salesforce for $1.3 billion. So I wouldn't come in and do server chain optimization and try to fight against Salesforce. I mean, you better have a competitive advantage. But those are the kind of areas. So if it was me, I'd be looking, how does unsupervised AI fit into this whole model? How does semi-supervised AI? What is the market before I would jump into it today? And then I would look at, on a global basis, one of the things we have to do, Sonny, is, I call it the rule of threes. One is you need to go down through and prove your model and define it and do your ideation. Does it really work? Do we have an MVP? 2 is we need to make sure we have regional dominance. 3 is going global. And then with each one of those, it's how do I do that? You need to have intergenerational teams. You need multicultural diversity. And of course, now decentralized is really important. So if you keep it simple, so those companies that are out there, you got to look at your model. Okay, I'm in Singapore. How do I go global now? What am I going to do? It's great product in Singapore. Is a great product that's going to be used in Spain. Is a great product that's going to be used in Europe. Is a great product that's going to be used in China or the US. So those are the kind of things you got to start, just ask yourself questions and don't be afraid, but try it. The other thing is, a lot of times with those companies and they're working in logistics is they over-engineer things. They don't test them. I just heard of actually, I shouldn't say how many PhDs because there aren't many people that have as many as him. Let's just say 4, but he's got more than 4. And, you over-engineer a product so much that it never is done. And it's kind of the entrepreneur's paradox, because they're continually over-engineering it instead of coming out with MVP and seeing if somebody wants to buy it. So for those logistics startups, make sure that people want to grab it out of your hands. Again, keep it simple. This is Bob Dorff and Steve Blank in the book, and Bob was my dean at my startup academy. Um, make sure people want to grab it out of your hands. So those companies today, of course, logistics is important, but the supply chain is critically important. So if it was me, I wouldn't be worrying about logistics. I'd be worried about how I can get the toilet paper.
Yeah, that's very, very critical for us, to be honest. Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, it's like hit home. Like if I want transparency, I mean, think about it. I'd want transparency. Then the other things, as we were going through this pandemic, I have a security company, and we did thermal imaging, thermal cameras, social distancing that we do with the technology. Those are the kind of things. So it wasn't just, why was the supply chain affected? Of course, there's not transparency. Of
Yes.
course, we didn't understand where the product would be at what time, at what place. And then, in some facilities, they had to close down because of COVID. Well, one of the things to do is thermal detection. Do the people have a temperature coming in? By the way, I don't know if you heard this, but MIT just came out with an tool that can be put on your iPhone that has
Yeah.
used a training set of 200,000, right? That can detect a cough. And so
Yeah.
it can tell you with 98.5% accuracy if you have COVID.
From your cough itself, right? Yeah, I read that one.
And
Yeah.
so it's just, what we have to do is we have to look at everything. How does it fit in? So if I'm a logistics company, it's great, but how does it fit in with the supply chain? Who are the competitors in the marketplace today? Am I using, literally there's so much data. Imagine it's grown at 62% per year. We know they're going to be inundated with data. How does that data flow, and how can we make decisions? And how can the system eventually make decisions for us? And these are like cobots, right? They're going down through and helping us understand how to live our lives better, how to make our decisions, business decisions better, and ultimately make a lot of those decisions for us, like robotic process automation. How does it make those decisions? And it's going to happen. I'm telling you, as we sit here today, it's already happening. Think about in your cars. 20 years ago, cars didn't have the intelligence they do today. If you take the brain out of your car, it doesn't work now, right? The old days are gone. We had carburetors and it's now become electric in a good way. It makes it a lot more efficient. In a bad way, you've got other kind of issues. You got to be a computer technicians to fix it. Let's look at how does everything fit together. The key is taking the puzzle and putting the pieces together. And that's where it becomes really interesting. So if I was a startup out there today, I would be looking, how can I fit into the model? I wouldn't be looking at just, there's one thing about helping out with the pandemic and having, a great opportunity to make money today, but how can you leverage that opportunity to make money tomorrow and to make an impact? And where's the impact? And if you keep it positive and you look at, you develop great partnerships. Partnerships are important. Trust is important. And it's a little bit harder now, Sonny, because of the pandemic, I can't fly to, I just had it happen to a friend of mine was in London and his girlfriend was with him. And he's a US citizen. He could fly to the US, but she couldn't because I didn't realize there's Rule 9996 and there's certain countries aren't allowed to fly into the US right now because of the pandemic. And of course, London's locked down, right? So she couldn't fly over. We need to go down through and understand, how to be able to use the technology and not be afraid of it to be able to still survive as a startup. Things like, LUT token here and having the capabilities to share information. Zoom, it's so funny because 5 years ago, I was a beta customer of Zoom, seriously, right at the beginning. And now look at it. If you would have told me 5 years ago, I thought it was great. I couldn't get my friends to use it. And then finally they did, because once they tried it, they liked it and went, viral with them. But now look at it today. Zoom is like the standard. It's unbelievable.
Absolutely.
I told Eric that. I wrote him on LinkedIn. We were going back and forth and I was, it's just amazing.
Absolutely agree. I couldn't understand the difference between Zoom and a Skype because I was a Skype user back in the days. Obviously before Zoom, and I couldn't. So why another Skype? I'm happy with Skype. But as you rightly said, they.
Well, because the quality, when you're using artificial intelligence to enhance the images, right? Look at how much clearer this is than
Yeah.
Skype. I mean, if Skype didn't want to change, and Skype was great, right? They came from Sweden, was developed, moved to Estonia, and here we are.
Yeah.
But the situation is you got to keep innovating. And they just, Eric had a rich background in terms of innovation and being involved in this community. I think he worked with Cisco and sold a couple of companies. So, I mean, he had the right kind of experience, but here we are. This is a standard now today. And who would have known? I mean,
Absolutely.
my company, Eva, 2 years ago, I pivoted the company to remote workforce management and trained AI. So we've been working with this AI, 19 patents later, AI for remote workforce management. People said, nobody's going to want to do it. My business was up 38 times at the beginning of the pandemic because guess what? People are working remotely and now there's an opportunity of a lifetime that wouldn't have been there. So, luck plays a big factor too. I'm sure I haven't asked Eric, but I'm sure 5 years ago he wasn't thinking about the pandemic because no.
Did he forecast it really? I mean,
I
really
mean,
lucky.
Bill Gates was talking about it last year, right? I mean,
Yeah.
in the beginning of last year, they were talking about, and they actually modeled. They were built scenarios on a pandemic. And by the way, Sonny, this is not the worst thing that could happen. SARS, COVID-19 is because of 2019, right? That's why it's named. It's really SARS, but it could be a lot worse. I mean, we could have Ebola, or something really bad, where
Oh,
we're locked down and you die in 20 minutes kind of thing.
oh
So
my God.
this is not the
Yeah.
worst case scenario. And people are surviving. My daughter went through it and survived. Friends of mine have survived. My best friend's wife just came through it and is negative. So it's not you can't get through it. It's just it shocked people.
Yeah.
True.
Thank you, Gary. Thanks a lot. And Eduardo, I think Terence is just
Yeah,
me to ask
yeah.
questions, final questions from you. Go for it,
Thank
Terence.
you. Thank you, Sonny. Thank you, Gary, for those thoughts and insights. And again, for all of you tuning in, this is VCTV by La Token, where we feature world-class prominent VCs from around and also up-and-coming businesses as well. Now, we have a few minutes left on the show. Eduardo, with your VC hat on, give us some final words and advice from your point of view with regards to the industry. What are you looking for? What are your predictions? And what do you wish to see?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we believe that as discussed before, every business that is related to digitalization will be key for the upcoming years. So we will love as a VC and venture builder fund. We basically look within deep tech space those projects that could be easily escalated on a worldwide basis with a low cost base actually, and with a huge potential in order to reach customers and to heavily impact their daily activities. We are sector agnostic, honestly, because we believe that a number of sectors will be heavily impacted by this new digital world we live in at. And of course, I mean, virtual reality, Internet of Things, and artificial intelligence will be top priorities for us. But also education, also real estate. I mean, everything is gonna be impacted by this new world. We are living in this COVID era. So yeah, we will love to hear from those young entrepreneurs and founders with interesting projects worldwide basis. We don't care about where are they based rather than US, India, Asia, Singapore, Hong Kong, Spain, Europe, even Africa. I mean, we've heard about some very, very interesting projects that are being developing in Africa right now, actually. And that's pretty much how we see the industry. Of course, the next 6 months, I would say, will be tough for pretty much every company in the world. Also for startups, because investors are not heavily investing right now, actually, because of these uncertainties. Hopefully, the situation will change as soon as possible, and that's pretty much how we see it.
Great. I think that's a great way to sum things up. Really looking into global businesses and global startups and giving them a chance to recover or to come out strong post-COVID. Again, I would like to thank you, Gary, Eduardo, for participating in today's panel. It was very insightful, and I hope you out there viewing or listening would tune in to our next episodes. And I think we have one later in the day and also a few this week. So check that schedule, and we'll get back to you with more interesting topics from our end. So
Right.
again, have a great time.
Thank you, Terence,
all
for that. Very
tuning in.
quickly, Gary, speak to you in a couple of hours on cybersecurity. So it's 8 p.m.
Yeah,
Singapore.
oh,
The
I
audience.
love that. I
Yes.
love that.
Yes.
Sounds great.
See you. Catch you soon.
See
And
you. Take
yes.
care of yourselves.
Care.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye. A pleasure. See you in the next one.
See you. Bye.
See ya. Bye bye.